take a look at those deadly storms now that are wreaking havoc across the South. Record rain, historic flooding, with tens of millions still facing tough weather today. NBC's Janet Shamlian is in hard-hit Louisiana, just east of Shreveport. Janet, good morning to you.
Matt, good morning. This is not over in Louisiana. Some of the homes behind me have as much as 5 feet of standing water in them right now. And as you can see, we are getting another storm here. There's expected to be as much as 5 inches of rain additional today, and also this time the threat of tornadoes. For a community that is so battered and storm weary, the fear this morning, what's coming next?
This morning's severe weather is putting millions at risk. Tens of thousands still without power. Record-breaking rainfall and deadly flooding ravaging much of the South. Water's devastating parts of East Texas and Louisiana. Overnight flash floods in West Monroe, forcing road closures as rainwater inundated this shopping center. And near Shreveport, some residents still can't get back to their flooded homes. Many of those residences submerged up to the roof.
I think it's already crested. I hope so, man.
The water level's so high, this bridge now barely clears the flooding.
There's nowhere for the water to go. All the ditches are full, and as it continues to rain, it's just continuing to back up.
Cars stranded and simply abandoned in the road. Others almost fully submerged in driveways.
It was rushing so fast, it felt like a current from a river. I had no idea how to deal with a flooded house.
Authorities coming to the rescue of the elderly, and so did the National Guard. Residents forced to evacuate themselves and their pets. Others now gathering what's left from ruined homes.
Everything you see is gone. I got a brand new roof on a house that's absolutely worthless. So me and my 3 kids lost everything today.
James Karstison returning to get clothes for his 3 young daughters.
They need dry clothes.
There are temporary shelters for some of those displaced.
We want to keep everybody safe through this, and if everybody, kind of work together, we'll get through it.
Now those residents are anxious to see when they'll be able to return and what will be left when they do.
And there's not a lot left. The dad in that piece we saw, he has 3 little girls. He carried out the only items in their bedrooms that were dry, and that was a handful of clothing. Heartbreaking. Guys, back to you.
It is. Janet Shamlian. Janet, thank you very much. What's going to happen with all this?
Unfortunately, we don't have any relief for at least the next 72 hours. This is just going to continue to stream in here. We've got an upper-level low that's stuck over Mexico, blocking high pressure, and so you can just see this rain train coming on in, pushing in more rain from eastern Texas into Louisiana, now moving into Mississippi. They've dropped some of the warnings back through central Texas, but still 15 million people under a flooding risk, 3 million people under flash flooding. That's because it's only going to take another half an inch to an inch of rain to cause more flooding. And look at these storms move over the same cities already with saturated ground. The heaviest rain starts to shift east by tomorrow, moving into Alabama, the panhandle of Florida. But look at the rainfall totals. Right now, we are expecting upwards of about 7 to 10 inches of rain throughout much of Louisiana. That moves on into parts of Mississippi and Alabama, and we'll continue to see that rain, guys, for at least 72 hours. Then it finally does dry out, but right now, not good news.
I haven't seen a map like that of yours in a long time.
This is more like a hurricane, the moisture from a tropical system. These are the kind of rainfall rates we would see.
All right, Al, thank you very much.
We turn next on a Friday night to the other major headline, the historic flooding, states of emergency in several states tonight, and a levee at risk of collapse. We're also this evening watching 2 storm systems that will hit this weekend. This driver in Mississippi trying to escape the flooding, driving deeper into the water instead, and National Guard troops helping families evacuate. 1,300 rescues today. ABC's Steve Osunsami on the scene in Louisiana, and the new storms on the way tonight.
North of Hammond, Louisiana tonight, parish authorities need every boat they have. They're already up to 250 people rescued from floodwaters since early this morning, and the night is young.
They woke us up about 3 o'clock this morning and said we had to go. We didn't even know we were sleeping.
The rain just doesn't want to end. Some areas along the Gulf Coast could still see 6 more inches, adding to the nearly 2 feet that's destroying homes and washing away roads. Near Shreveport, they were racing to sandbag the levee at Red Chute Bayou.
We're looking for trouble spots, areas where the levee might be compromised first.
Already, neighborhoods around the bayou look like they're sitting in a bath. 3,500 people have been forced to leave their homes. ABC's Philip Mena is at the levee this evening.
The water is less than a foot from topping this levee. Authorities are nervous. If the levee breaks, it would be disastrous.
The National Guard has had a busy week releasing this video of some of their 1,300 rescues.
You haven't been in here yet?
We went with Debbie Cook today in Greenville, Mississippi,
The water line was up here.
to see her home after 3 feet of floodwaters finally let it be.
It's something the Lord did. We can't do nothing about it, but just pray for us and hope we, don't get any more hard rain.
Here in Hammond, Louisiana, they're moving families out of the water and into shelters. Tonight, the National Weather Service is calling this the kind of rain event that happens every 1,000 years. David?
Steve, thank you. And unfortunately, not much of a break for them. Rob is tracking 2 storms tonight. Hey, Rob.
Hey, David, just as the one begins to weaken and lift, the next one's going to come in. This one has been stubborn over Mexico, now over Texas. Deep tropical moisture, another 2 to 4 inches with this as it spins up towards the north and east. Flash flood watches and river flood warnings will remain in effect right on through the weekend. Some big rivers are in record stage and will stay there. Watch this moisture head up towards Chicago and eventually to the northeast. But the next storm coming in from California, that produces severe storms, I think, on Sunday and Monday for the flood zone. The California storms now getting hit hard in Southern California. A couple of more storms coming in and through San Francisco and the mountains there. Some wind across the Pacific Northwest. They need that rain. But now, David, that ground is becoming unstable.
Very must-see weekend for the country ahead.
Rio de Janeiro declare a state of crisis after torrential rainfall flooded parts of the city. Cars, buses, and local residents are stranded as streets turn into murky rivers. Meanwhile, Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff flew over areas hit by downpours that killed at least 20 people in the state of Sao Paulo.
Some incredible but also very sad footage coming out of these locations. Here's Sao Paulo State. 16 people, unfortunately, have perished from this rainfall event. Mudslides and falling rock causing havoc. You can see the aerial footage showing that severe flooding throughout the streets with vehicles stuck in the water, people wading through flooded streets and using rubber boats to get around. That heavy rain even caused the airport to close for 6 hours on Friday in Sao Paulo, again, Brazil's largest city. So let's talk about how much rain actually fell in that region. Zooming in to the southeastern sections of Brazil, this is a satellite-derived estimate. Anywhere you see that shading of yellow and orange, that's in excess of 100 to 150 millimeters of rainfall, roughly in a 24-hour period. It's all thanks to a stalled frontal boundary and an onshore flow, and there is still, unfortunately, more rain to come. Just get a load of how much rain fell in Sao Paulo, 87 millimeters in a 24-hour period. That is over half our monthly average, again, just in 1 day's time. The fingerprints of climate change all over this particular event.
Esse homem tenta se agarrar ao muro para não ser levado pela correnteza. Esse outro em cima do caminhão teve que ser resgatado pelo helicóptero da polícia. O socorro veio também com os botes dos bombeiros e a ajuda dos vizinhos. Essa mulher é retirada de casa com a água na altura da cintura.
The authorities in central Serbia have declared an emergency after extensive flooding in the region. Rain-swollen rivers have broken their banks, inundating dozens of houses and farmland. Officials have warned of possible landslides and blocked roads from falling rocks. So far, there are no reports of casualties.
Storm Katie has battered large parts of southern Britain, leaving flights cancelled, property damaged and thousands of people without power. Gusts of up to 106 miles an hour were recorded as more than 100,000 homes were left without power at the height of the winds, with thousands still awaiting reconnection tonight. The Environment Agency has also issued 27 flood warnings following heavy rain. We can go now to Robert Hall, who's in Woodley in Berkshire. Robert.
Simon, Storm Katie swept through this part of the Thames Valley at about 7:30 this morning with strength enough to cause the collapse that you can see behind me. It's effectively shut down Woodley's shopping centre. It was a frightening few moments at the end of what had been a wild night. A rude awakening after the Easter weekend. Storm Katie may have arrived whilst most of us were asleep, but there was no missing its journey east. This video was filmed by onlookers as the storm dismantled 3 stories of scaffolding.
Unfortunately, some of these businesses will be closed for 1 to 2 days until this scaffolding is repaired. We've also got to make sure that there are no sort of electricity lines or anything untoward, and just making sure that all the residents in the flats above, as you can see, are safe and well informed.
In Gosport in Hampshire, a series of storm-force gusts tore the entire roof off these flats.
Suddenly we heard this tremendous crash, and the whole building shook quite dramatically, and that kind of got us out of bed quite quickly.
The storm had tracked from Cornwall to the North Sea, toppling trees, damaging buildings, bringing down power lines. At its peak, the gale had enough force to twist this tower crane on a building site in East London. Along the south coast, there were warnings of coastal flooding and ferry sailings were disrupted. More than 80 flights were cancelled at Heathrow and Gatwick airports. Some flights that did attempt to make it in were forced to abort, an uncomfortable few minutes for travellers on their way home. Back in Gosport, the sun is shining, but the clear-up has some way to go. At these flats near the naval base, roofing insulation and timbers had dropped 3 stories and then crashed onto cars below. Storm Katie may have moved on, but there are lasting reminders of its passing. Well, all the locations we've been to today, we've been impressed by the strength of this storm and the effect that it's had. I think the only thing that a lot of people are thankful for is that it did happen mostly during the hours of darkness. If there had been more people about with that amount of debris flying around, things could have been a lot more serious. Simon.
Robert Hall, thank you.
The month of March signals the start of the long rains that extend into May. a season the weatherman predicts may not record sufficient rainfall. And so far, the heat being experienced has gotten many worried.
Hii jua haijawahi onekana kabisa, hata tunashindwa ni nini. Hapo Eldoret joto imekuwa kama ya Mombasa sasa.
Inaonekana kuna joto sana, lakini hapo ninaona ni kama kuna uwezekano mvua iko karibu.
A situation the weatherman insists is normal during the onset of the rains, but admits this time the temperatures have risen above normal, occasioned by increased moisture in the air and relative humidity. A phenomenon environmentalists say is caused by human activity that has given rise to global warming. And as the heat continues to take its toll, areas like Nairobi are expected to start receiving rainfall towards the end of March.
The western parts of the country, Nyanza, South Rift, parts of Nairobi and even central Kenya, and you extend into areas into Marsabit, those are also likely to get near normal to slightly enhanced rainfall.
The coastal strip, according to Mbenje, is likely to get slightly enhanced rainfall starting in April and going on into June. But the depressed rainfall expected is likely to have a ripple effect in the long run, according to Mbenje.
The areas where we are getting depressed rainfall, this might be a signal to worse scenarios, maybe in the course or towards the end of the year, depending on how the short rains are going to behave.
Insufficient rainfall may make a recipe for crop failure and eventually the onset of drought.
Even in areas where we are anticipating depressed rainfall, we can take advantage and harvest the water for the subsequent dry period after the cessation of the rainfall.
In addition, drink plenty of water, advice that could come in handy even as the country braces itself for the coming days ahead. Joy Kirukijuba, K24.
Oh shit! بالسرير ربي حتى العمارة الأخرى ماما ماما ماما
التروس في الستيشن ماي خلاص.
هذا أول مرة أشوفه فيضان في الصناعية، صناعية العين. سلامات سلامات جماعة يا رجال. وين؟
جريان شلال في العامرات فوق الصعدة. شلال غزير جدا وخطير، خطير شباب، خطير جدا. شلالات في صعدة العامرات بوشر، شلالات قابلوا شباب. احترسوا جريان هائل. شوفوا
跟他当好救生员，当好服务员。对，帮助东西传递下去。好了。
有鸡有鸭，该关门。
为啥牌子了插下去好吗？
插回来。
送水，送那个饼啊，那个一些菜，那个榨菜那些东西等等，还是就是吃的喝的基本上现在都没问题了。
这个只能放这。
你看它看，中间的还是。
这里这个水怎么？
要搬走，不搬走，晚上有可能要淹掉房子老房子都要淹掉。
接到手机通知，1万个限幅流量，达到目前已经达到9000个流量，要接到手机。
还比你平时水平高，看见你看它看，中间的。
现在就是这边我这边那个基地淹掉，一共是600亩，现在淹掉400多亩。马铃薯主要是马铃薯全部淹掉，还有白萝卜淹了100来亩。